Received a phone call at around 0300 in the morning. That was the first notification that we had lightning overnight that was the primary cause of the ignition for the CampCreek fire.
These forests don't burn very common. The fire regime is high severity, low frequency. We have worked really hard to ensure that we have a plan in place and really focus on fire prevention and early detection. By 3:30 in the morning, the location of the fire was pinpointed using the artificial intelligence cameras, and that allowed Forest Service and other fire response agencies to be in the watershed responding to that fire within a few hours after that.
The CampCreek fire was the #1 priority in the country. We knew it was going to be resistant just based on the conditions that we've had all summer. The initial efforts were successful in the sense that we were able to keep it in certain locations, but as the day progressed, the fire was just able to find its way to places that we were trying to keep it out of. From that point, when the fire moved into certain locations and we knew that it was becoming more of an issue for us locally, we were able to get that national critical incident management team here. By the time everything was all said and done, it was around 2,000 acres.
Once the fire is contained or controlled, there's a lot that still needs to go on. There's fire lines out there, there's roads that have been cleared, and there's all sorts of debris in the ditch lines. So we need to ensure that those fire lines, being their hand lines or tractor lines, are storm-proofed or winter-proof so we don't have excessive erosion. And then there's a lot of, shaded field breaks were created for this fire where people went in 30 feet and drug all the small material out. Well, the ditch lines were full of material and wood chips, so we needed to make sure those were all cleaned out, all the culverts were cleaned out, and there was a lot of work like that. And then we also needed to deal with all the slash that was hauled off from these field breaks, and part of that, they brought in a curtain burner and created wood char. And then kind of the second part, after suppression repair, there's burned area emergency response. We look at critical values at risk, and those critical values can be human life and safety, critical natural resource values like watershed or water quality, and cultural resources.
In this kind of climate that's mild, with all this precipitation, it's like the plants are just gonna grow. All the fireweed that's come in. It's amazing. That seed just like sits in the soil in the seed bank for hundreds of years. Wow. And then pops up after a fire. The Bull Run Watershed is in great condition, and that's really thanks to the long protection history we have of the watershed. They're really old forests, so they have a lot of complex structure and species diversity that allows them to recover more quickly than younger forests. We haven't seen any significant impacts from the fire on our drinking water supply. In partnership with the Forest Service, we have been able to do a lot more invasive species monitoring along the roadways. When I'm going out and looking at these areas for vegetative recovery, I'm hopeful because I know that things are going to come back. It's a really mild climate, a resilient forest, and there's a lot of precipitation. So I think the plants are going to come back pretty quickly.
We've also been picking up some interesting wildlife that's been coming back into the burn, especially one bobcat that seems to really like to frequent that small area.
The Bull Run is a very special location to come up here and see the grass, the shrubs, the brush, life moving back into this fire scar, and knowing that nature has a great way of taking care of itself after an event like this, and knowing that we didn't cause more damage here than needed to be.